Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm gonna talk about the DC movie timeline because I just recorded a video where I talked about Batman and about how, like, you know, obviously with the way the movies are set up currently, that we can kind of tell that the timeline is kind of a little all over the place. So not necessarily in a bad way, just the fact of the matter is they're playing a lot with the timeline. So that kind of got me thinking of kind of it being a very interesting thing, them doing that, because they've set so much up in the future / present that they're kind of filling in the blanks afterwards. I mean, you could make the argument they kind of put themselves in that position, kind of jumping as fast as they did, going from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman to Justice League as quickly as they did, but still. It's definitely going to be interesting because I guess technically with a lot of this, you won't, going forward, a lot of the standalone movies I'm sure are going to be origin stories to a certain degree, but I'd assume they'd all mainly take place in the past, some of them, and that I guess in itself is like the big question, like how they go forward with a lot of this stuff, because I just talked about the Batman movie, how like it could most likely take place in the past. I mean, granted, I didn't really say it, but they could easily continue going forward, but I'd assume they'd go back because, you know, Batman's had a, you know, by the time, like with Batman v Superman, Bruce has already been Batman for a while, so there's a lot of history they can fill in. I mean, look at Wonder Woman. Like, every subsequent movie of Wonder Woman seems to be kind of a period piece. Like, the first one was in World War I, and now the second one is in 1984. So there's a lot of fun that they could have with that, setting up not only just heroes, but they could do the same thing with their villains and stuff like that. Once again, I don't really know the DC lineup. I know I've heard some of the movies they potentially got coming out, like Birds of Prey. I don't know much about that at all. I don't really know too much about what that's really all about. There's also the Joker movies, potentially. There's the one with Joaquin Phoenix, and like that's definitely going to be interesting, because even that, because I'm curious, like, will that Joaquin Phoenix like talk about Batman? Will that be like Joker set up before Batman, or will Batman be kind of early stages thing, and it helps mold Joaquin Phoenix's Joker into the symbiotic relationship that him and Batman eventually have? Like, I'm curious like how they handle that. But also the other thing too is like, how are they going to set up the other heroes? That's definitely going to be a very interesting thing, because like I would say so far Wonder Woman and potentially Batman are going to be doing that. Like, but use Superman for example. Superman is set present day just because he hasn't existed in that entire frame. Like, Man of Steel is present day, and that's when he got set up. So, but all these other heroes like Wonder Woman and Batman, timeline-wise, had already been established and existed. I guess you could make the argument like Aquaman, maybe Cyborg as well. Cyborg seems like he might be more modern. Maybe. I got to go back and rewatch and find out, like, you know, what time frame that you know, what happened to him happened. Same thing about Barry, like, because it seems like he hasn't become the Flash until Justice League. He had his powers for a while, but he wasn't doing the whole superhero thing. Because with Aquaman, because they make reference to it, like one line of being like, you know, Mira being like, oh, you know, you helped out with the Steppenwolf thing, meaning that it's taking place after Justice League. So, you know, once again, what about the other heroes? One thing that kind of stuck in my head is Oliver Queen, you know, Green Arrow. It's because I heard this years ago, like on SourceFed Nerd, where they had talked about the fact is that they could get like an older actor to play Oliver Queen, because apparently, I guess comic book wise and stuff like that, there's always been jokes about him being the old man of the Justice League. So if they did that, would it kind of do like a Batman thing of set him up in the future, but then all the movies would be set up in the past and stuff like that? Like, you know, I'd assume like our main group right now, like, I don't know if they plan on going backwards with a lot of superheroes. They probably have them all set up present day, because even look at Shazam. Shazam is set up present day. There's also the conversation of like how much these movies are going to be connected, because it seems like going forward they were going to make them a little less connected, not stress about it as much, but I think that's still going to be an angle. They're probably just not going to make as much of a big deal about it, but they probably will connect a lot of the movies still, you know, keeping with this continuity. I don't think they're getting rid of anything until the potential Flashpoint movie happens, because that could give them a little bit more room to kind of make the changes they want to or need to in certain regards. Once again, that comes down to whenever that starts filming, and if that ends up being the first Flash movie, which is what everything was kind of pointing towards that being. Once again, like I talked about it before, like a lot of that Flash stuff hasn't really been set up. Like one of the key components to that isn't there yet. Other key components are, but I feel like the world should be established a little bit more. But where things are going now, maybe they're less likely to kind of push forward with the Flashpoint movie. Maybe they'll change the Flash movie into something else. Because I mean, like, using other heroes like, you know, John Jones, Martian Manhunter, the Hulk, Green Lantern. That's also another thing too. Like, where are you going to go with that? Because I talked about that before, where it was kind of supposed to be like a Green Lantern core movie, was kind of like the thought process they had. But also, like, what Green Lantern are you going with? Are you going with Hal Jordan? I feel like they might not go down that route because, you know, Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern came out back in 2011. Obviously, they wouldn't follow that continuity anyway, but the fact of the matter is, would they use the character of Hal Jordan again, or would they go to John? Or, because there's at least one other human, Earthling, Green Lantern, and I think his name is Kyle. I could be wrong about that. John and Hal are the only ones I'm slightly familiar with. Mainly John because of the Justice League cartoon. But a lot of those heroes I kind of associate as being kind of like main tier Justice Leaguers, once again, just because of the cartoon. But that's just on the past front. There is potentially the future front, which I don't know if they'd really tackle that or not, with like the Booster Gold situation. Because once again, I don't like, because I threw him out there as a hero you could potentially see in like the Arrowverse. I don't know how much people would be pawning for Booster Gold as a, you know, standalone movie or something like that. Because that's another thing too that has to be considered. Like, are certain characters going to be set up in other people's movies? Like, I'm randomly throwing out there, like, could you see like a Booster Gold pop up in a Flash movie or something like that, just because Flash has the whole ability to time travel and stuff like that? Because I don't know if they've really ever had a pairing in the comic books, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm curious if something like that would potentially happen, because there's also the conversation of like, oh yeah, I bring this up every time, what are you gonna do about the whole Arrowverse situation? Because all that's like still WB, that's still Warner Brothers, so it's like, I think they're kind of fine with it, because it's like, oh, that's TV, this is movie, we can kind of do whatever we want to. Because it's also a conversation that recently kind of came back in my head, because someone had commented on the fact that there's too much superhero media for them. They only focus on the movies, which I'm like, I understand, because movies are a lot more digestible than TV shows. So a lot of people might not know about certain characters like Green Arrow, or anyone that's on the Legends, or Batwoman, or Black Lightning, or Supergirl. So a lot of those heroes could still appear in movies. You know, they probably just kind of coexist at the same time. I mean, maybe there's been other versions subsequently since movie-wise I'm just not aware of. The only one I'm aware of solely being Supergirl movies, like the one from 1984. I don't know. This was just something that was kind of rummaging through my head. And ultimately, I'd like to ask you a question. What do you think about the DC, you know, movie timeline? Like, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer more present-day / future movies? Or would you prefer, like, you know, more past movies potentially, like, you know, Wonder Woman, for example? Because, you know, like I was saying, like, I just don't feel like a lot of those movies, even with the current superheroes they've set up, I don't think they do that a lot. Like, Batman, they could do it. Wonder Woman, they can do it because there's enough history there. But I feel like everyone else is kind of so new that I don't see them doing that with every other character. It's definitely going to be like future movies, like for like Superman, just because of where he's been set up. Same thing for Aquaman. Like, you got his past in his solo movie of just being like that being his origin story, so his story going forward would just be future movies, I'd assume. But like I said, it doesn't apply to every other superhero. They could still kind of fill in the gaps like that. I'd be interested to kind of know your thoughts about everything in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, we'll let it force and enjoy it. Good day and good